Hi,
Hi,
I'm Nick.
I'm Jill, and we're HipStrings. Yeah, Happy New Year.
It's been a while. That's okay. We're
Yeah.
back. So, I have decided we shouldn't do numbers anymore.
Why?
Because when people see podcast numbers, they say, oh, I want to go back and watch number one. And number one video
It's
quality
awful?
is embarrassing. I mean, the content is great, but it looks terrible. So when podcasts are by date, then people want to actually go and just say, okay, I'm going to watch the most recent one.
Okay.
Right? So when they start, okay, I want to see what's recent. Then they'll go back if they enjoy it. So what date is it?
It is January 4th,
All right.
2019.
You had to think on that for a second.
Yeah.
So, it's a new year. It's a new podcast. We're rebooting a little bit. We're still going to talk about the same fun things, what we're working on, what we're doing, and things in the studio, right? So what do you want to start with?
I guess we can first talk about what we're wearing, because it is winter, so there are hand knits.
That's the best part of winter.
So I'm wearing, my cardigan is the Svalbard by Bristol Ivy in Ultra Alpaca Worsted by Barocco.
So soft.
And I just recently finished another one of this pattern in some hand-spun CVM, which is also very lovely. Not bright acid green, though. And then the thing around my neck is kind of a modified Viajante by Martina Bem.
Stop squishing your microphone.
Sorry. And it's in hand spun. It's a little bit of a black alpaca silk blend I used to carry and a plum pumpkin bat by Yarnshine. So that's what I'm wearing. What are you wearing?
What I'm wearing is also hand spun from you, and I know nothing about it.
It's one of my first combo mashup spins. So it's all Rambouillet, but some of it is Rambouillet dyed by Homestead Hobbyists in, oh gosh, I forget what colorway it was. It was like Toxic Sludge or something. And then a colorway I named Waiting for Rain, or When Will It Ever Stop Raining.
Because you live in Pittsburgh.
Because this was like Pittsburgh 2 or 3 years ago, but we just had a record-breaking year for rain in Pittsburgh, and it really does feel like it has never stopped raining for the last 6 months.
Yeah, the last couple of days have been okay, though.
Yeah, well, it's a new year.
That's true. Yeah.
So each ply is a different colorway. And the pattern is Brownstone by Jared Flood.
I can't believe you still remember that.
Encyclopedic brain.
I can barely remember the projects that I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, do we want to talk about, well, you've got a ridiculous 12 days of cast on right now.
Yeah.
We're on day 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and I actually haven't cast anything on today because I brought home yarn to start a descent sweater, and I'm out of cables for my interchangeable. I still have tips, but I'm out of cables. Cables are at the studio.
Well, I've got some. How long do you need?
You don't have the right type of cables for my needles.
Oh, you got the weird locking ones. Yeah. Well, you can use a set of my needles. You got to cast on something today.
I might find something else different. There's another project that I have socked away in a project bag that's all wound up, and I'm pretty sure I have needles for it. I don't know where it went. And in our massive reorganization of the house, I remember having it, planning to go to a knit in public and then being like, oh, this project isn't ready. This isn't what I thought it was.
Well, anyway, why don't you talk about what you're working on
Well,
now?
I have a finished object.
Okay, let's do finished objects.
So this has not been blocked. Still needs ends woven in, but this is a sandbank shawl. I forget the name of the designer. It is out of some of my hand-dyed, out of some merino alpaca fingering weight,
Handed yarn or fiber?
milliseconds from Schweitzer's. And I overdyed the yarn. So, not a yarn base I carry, but it is lovely. And it'll get drapier once it's blocked.
I have the complete opposite of a drapey finished object. You may have remember me talking about a yoga mat. I mentioned this on Instagram a couple of times, and it's finished and it's blocked and it's off of the loom. We have another one that we're going to be making for Jill. But you'll notice there's one time where I was absentmindedly not paying attention to the pattern, but everything else turned out pretty well. I was happy with it. It was a nice, satisfying weave because I got to slam the
Beater.
and actually use the beater as a beater. Unlike the previous weaving project where I had to be very delicate and get it to just the right spot and then go, no, this I could just wham, slide, wham, slide, wham. It was satisfying. It was good. So I forgot to bring it to yoga class the first time this year though. So but it'll be easier for me to travel with now when I need to travel and I can do yoga on the road. So I'm excited to use it.
So as Nick mentioned, I've been doing a 12 days of casting on since Christmas. So there's just a couple days left. And I have some of the projects here. I don't have all of them. Some of them are big.
I can't sing every time you're about to do on the first day of cast on. I don't know what else I'd say.
I've been trying to post pictures on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram as HipStrings. It's pretty simple. I know there's a couple projects that haven't made it to Instagram. Eventually we'll get there. So, but crazy me, I think I've cast on for 2 sweaters. I've got yarn for a third. So the sweaters are, this is in a yarn bowl my sister gave me for Christmas. This is another combo spin of my own hand spun. This is going to be an Elizabeth Zimmerman seamless hybrid sweater for Nick. So he gets a sweater. This is a Granito pullover by Joji Locatelli in Discourse, which is my Superwash BFL yarn, in a colorway that's not quite exactly the person I want to be. And then I also have yarn for a Descent sweater by Andrea Rangel, and I'm using hand spun for the color work in the yoke and Kramer Naturally Nazareth worsted in like almost black for the body. So those are the sweaters.
So you've got so many projects going on right now. Aren't you afraid that you're going to be, just forget which project is which? Like you need to have like a number tag on each of them.
What were you like talking about my knowledge about what?
That's true. That's true.
So what I did is I pulled out yarn before Christmas and put it in project bags with a project in mind for everything. So some of these are just like swatches, really. I'm not even sure that I've got gauge because I didn't swatch for anything before.
Casting on a swatch counts as casting on.
Yes, exactly. So, sometimes these things don't make it past the day. Some of them I've already like swatched, ripped back, and cast on a second time.
Yeah. Well, you also finished a project too, right?
Yes. So, to make sure I don't completely overwhelm myself, I finished a crochet dishcloth in one day and used up a ball of yarn.
Hold on. You don't cast on crochet.
Shh. I am multi-craft, Jewel.
Yes, I understand.
I make up the rules to the game.
It's the 12 days of casting on.
No. I make up the rules. This is not like anything official. It is my own silly way of making sure that I get crafting time when the entire family is in the house.
I guess technically one stitch is casting on because you could You could cast on one stitch and do like a triangle shawl or something. See, this is the argument you should have given me. Because you have one stitch you cast on.
So if I
and you
just
go from
put
there.
a slip knot on a needle every day for 12 days, I will be successful.
You said you made up the rules.
This is why I don't do official things.
Well, we should have, for next year, we should have an official HipStrings 12 Days of Casting On.
No. Then
No?
I won't actually do it. But I do. HipStrings is doing a hand-spun make-along in the Ravelry group right now.
There will be a secret 12 Days of Casting On for HipStrings next year.
Yeah,
if I
follow Mr.
remember.
HipStrings on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he'll do an official 12 Days of Casting On, not tell me about it.
Yeah. No, you don't know about that.
Okay, so that's sweaters. There are other reasonable projects. There are a couple hats. This is I forget the name of the pattern. It's from the Making magazine, The Lines. And this is in Kim Dye's yarn, her cannoli worsted in the Sugar Plum Fairy colorway, which Kim Dye's yarn will be coming back to Indie Knit and Spin February 23rd.
Yeah, well, now you're just skipping ahead.
This is another hat. This is in HipStrings Gifted, exactly the person I want to be. And this is Megaliths by Kino Knits.
I feel like you need to tell us what all the bags are, too.
This is Star Knits. I haven't gotten to that project yet. This was Safi Sana, who doesn't do project bags. She's a friend who did like toddler backpacks, and I was like, can you make me some box bags? And so I gave her fabric and she made me bags because crafty friends are awesome. This is Mustache Yarns Last Jedi Lightsaber OCD skeins, which I started off as doing 2 at a time, and then I remembered how much I hated knitting socks 2 at a time magic loop, so I put them on separate needles.
So you're still technically doing 2 at a time, but not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sometimes have gauge issues between my first sock and second sock. So I'm going to try to fix that by like knitting the cuff for one and knitting the cuff for the second.
We call one of the socks the angry sock.
And it's actually the excited sock, because I'm so excited to finish the second sock that I tighten up.
Yeah.
I need more drink.
What's your last bag? And
No,
who's
there's
it
2
from?
more bags.
Oh, 2 more bags.
Yeah.
Let's see the other one.
Other one doesn't have a bag.
Oh.
This is the beginning of a Riptide shawl by Danielle Landez. And the purple is some lichen and lace that Nick picked me up on a business trip. And the very colorful hand-dyed is from some mini sock blanks I dyed in a class at SSK this past summer with Gail from Gail's Art. And so I have a hand-spun Riptide shawl that's like a DK worsted weight that is freaking huge that I wear a lot during the winter. And so this will be a lighter version. I really like the shape of the shawl. And then the other project I have is the Car shawl by Bristol Ivy, her Knitting Outside the Box book. And this is in Homestead Hobbyist Crime Scene Fingering. I forget exactly which colorway this is. It's the purple. There's only one purple, which this yarn is really lovely to work with. It's really interesting. And then I have a cotton crochet blanket on the hook. And I think that's everything I've cast on.
Well, by next
That's
time
7,
we'll have
8,
a couple more cast-ons,
9.
and we'll see how far you make it on any of these.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I have one project to talk about. I've got other things. I think I've mentioned basically everything else. But one thing I haven't talked about since the last time is the Gola sweater by Lauren Elkin that I'm working on. Now, you may know that she does not design men's sweaters, so I am taking some modifications and a large leap. I took a class from Lauren Elkin on specifically this type of sweater. And if you're not familiar with her series of sweaters, they're fascinating because they don't knit top to bottom or bottom to top. They knit left to right. So you start on a sleeve, and then you go across the body, and then you go down the other sleeve. And the way that works is that you actually end up with something like this, where it lays out flat, and the final part, which I'm on the first side, is to pick up and knit along back and forth rows up along the edge. So this is all HipStrings yarn, and this gradient here is in double major.
Yep.
And then I'm blanking on what
It's gifted.
It's gifted for the other one.
So gifted, I think, is going to get reclassified as a sport weight yarn because of its grist. It has over 300 yards per 100-gram skein, and so double major has less yardage for the same weight than gifted, even though it's considered a sport weight. But it's kind of a fat sport weight, so they kind of meet each other in the middle and knit up at a similar gauge.
And they work out well together. Now, you may notice that this is a bit short. This is something where that'll block out.
It's not that you're super fond of crop sweaters.
Yeah, no, it's not that I'm super fond of crop sweaters. That'll block out because this will stretch quite a bit, and I went...
It's all superwash.
Based on, well, superwash, but also that I went based off of the recommendation from Lauren Elkin of you want to gauge based on a slightly weighted down blocked swatch. And that's what I did with one of the sleeves. So
there's a lot of faith in this sweater.
There is a lot of faith. And thankfully, Jill and I have oddly similar torsos.
Basically the same chest circumference.
So if this doesn't work out for me, it'll make a very nice crop sweater for you.
Yeah. Or even regular sweater.
Or even regular sweater, because your torso is shorter than mine.
Yeah. My torso is a couple inches shorter.
So there is a lot of faith in this. There may have been a little bit
if it doesn't work out, it's a shop sample.
There may have been a little bit of warning from Laura about
trying something so ambitious.
Things that I may or may not want to do. Although one of the nice things I really like about this pattern, I'm so embarrassed to hold it up. I'm like, yeah, look, it's going to be tiny. The stuff on my midriff, I'm going to have this exposed belly. One of the things I really like about it, you'll see that the seam at the bottom actually is at an angle. I cannot claim the first male Gola modification. There's somebody else who did that, but they did not do the angle. They made a modification to make it just flat at the bottom. So I'm going to do the first...
How metropolitan of you.
Mostly official Gola. I don't know. Anyway, wish me luck. So that's my project. I'm not quite as ambitious as the 12 cast-ons, but I've got a couple of other things going on. I have to start a new stocking. Finally, make a stocking. It's
for the
Chris is of the age to get.
Is it going to be yellow?
I really don't want it to be, but I think it has to, because that's his favorite color. I have that.
What contrasts with yellow?
Black, but then it's black and gold, and yeah, I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I've got that blanket that I'm working on.
Yeah.
I've got some spin projects that need to just get plied. I've got the manliest knitting project in
and
the
my
world.
yoga mat.
Got your yoga mat. Yeah. Still not as many as you, but so let's talk about what we're up to. You mentioned Indie Knit and Spin.
Yep.
We just selected all the vendors, and we are slowly announcing everybody as they are giving their agreements.
So 26 vendors like last time. 10 of them weren't there last time.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep it fresh. Some of them are repeating. Some of them are they tend to be more for the winter show instead of the fall show. Some of them are brand new. We're also trying a couple of new things with the attendees. So we are going to be having a early access pass, and we're also going to be having what we're calling a happy hour. So we're going to have the vendors will have giveaways, so little tiny giveaways, cheap little things, but you can basically go trick-or-treating to all the vendors. That'll be taking over some of the main giveaways. So we're not going to be doing quite as many as we've done last time because it just ended up being a long slog in the middle of the show. But the happy hour is going to be in the last hour of the show, so trying to encourage people to stick around or maybe come later, give you some incentive there. Anything else that we should mention?
And then there'll be early access passes.
Yeah.
So limited number of passes for the first hour of the show because the first couple hours of indie this past time were nuts.
Yeah.
And so give everybody a chance to see everybody without it being super crowded.
Yeah.
So that's what's up for Indie Knit and Spin. I've got an open, the shop continues to be open for Saturday every month. I'm hopefully going to have some more classes and stuff. I actually just moved into a new dye studio just below my studio. So we're getting dyeing moved over there.
And I'm teaching class.
And you're teaching a class.
So where I work, the company that got bought by another company but is still in the same building as me is doing a social event where they asked me to teach people how to knit. So this will be my first formal knitting class, and I think after that I'll be able to help other people schedule classes for HipStrings knitting classes as well. I'm gonna have giant needles. I've decided I'm going to make needles like this big so that everybody can see me way out in the back. When I actually make them, you guys will be able to take a look.
Yeah. So and then HipString, we basically have our show schedule for 2019. So if you want to see HipStrings in person, we will be at Indie Knit and Spin in Pittsburgh, February 23rd. We'll be at For the Love of Fiber in State College, Pennsylvania. I believe that's March 16th. In April, I will be at Plyaway in the vendor marketplace. Then June, I will be at MAFA in Millersville, PA. That's like the last week of June. I'm not sure on the exact dates. In July, we're coming back for SSK, both of us. We'll be back at Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival. And then we will finish off the year at Indie Knit and Spin again. So Indie kind of is the beginning and the end of every year. Show season for us.
Yep.
So that's the plan right now. We may have a couple other surprises up our sleeves, but nothing we can announce.
Not up to us either. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's new at the shop? We have the Z-Loom.
Yes. So we've come out with some new products.
We forgot to bring some from the studio, so we'll be having to show you.
We'll do a
next time.
special podcast on the Z-Loom to show it off. Yeah, I'm anxious to get back to dyeing.
Yeah, your hand dye's been doing pretty well, so you're going to be doing more of that. As always, we have your Cotton Club.
Yep.
And your Synergy Club, right? And then
both are open for signups right now. Well, stuff we want to do with the podcast moving forward.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do demos and kind of little instructional videos for a while. So we kind of have a new setup with recording equipment. Hopefully it'll mean that kind of stuff actually gets to happen. I'm trying to slow down a little bit this year and get to all these wonderful ideas that we've had and that we just haven't done anything about.
But we're absolutely going to be doing more instructional videos. We've had a lot of requests for them. Definitely support spinning is one of them. We've got
Going over using our control cards, angle of twist, some spinning technique.
You have a wonderful description about, what is grist. You mentioned it earlier in the podcast. Talk about what that means for both your, not only hand spun, but also for commercial yarns.
Yeah, because I've started teaching a class that's called Show Your Spinning Who's Boss, which talks about all sorts of stuff, including like ply structure and grist and angle twist and spinning methods and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to share some of that stuff with all of y'all.
And then we, obviously we can, if people are interested, we can cover basic things like knitting and different techniques and, some of the stuff we've talked about a little bit before, tips and tricks. One of the things that I promise all of you is that you're going to get straight from the video to the meat. I hate these podcasts which give you the background of their entire life story for the first 5 minutes, and then a litany of alternative things you can do for the last 5 minutes, and it's a 10-minute video, and there's literally, 5 seconds of what you actually want to know right in the middle, but you don't know where it is in the middle, so you have to keep searching for it. No, we're not going to do that. So if you're looking for straight information, quick reference stuff, that's what you're going to get.
So.
And with that, maybe we should stop babbling and wish everybody a good night, a good day.
Yes. And a
Happy
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.